The majority of his experience is in Lean Six Sigma. He has a master's black belt from More Steam, Ohio State. So you guys know a little bit about More Steam, and turns out that beyond the green belt and beyond the black belt, there's a master's black belt. And you can ask Sebastian about that a little bit if you'd like. So he has, in addition to the master black belt, he has 2 black belt certifications, one from ASQ, the American Society for Quality, and one from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. He's also a certified quality engineer and certified quality manager. Boy, it just makes me tired just reading all that, Sebastian. And quality manager with organizational excellence from ASQ. They're all related to improvement. Even the quality engineer is a big component of improvement. Currently, he's the senior engineering manager overseeing detector packaging engineering, reliability engineering, tooling and automation engineering, advanced manufacturing engineering, and camera assembly engineering for infrared vision systems at FLIR, okay? Down in Goleta, right, Sebastian?
That's right.
Yep, so he's almost local. So he is also piloting a Lean Six Sigma program for production technicians, engineering technicians, and engineers going from white to black belt. Sebastian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that is a mouthful. So I agree with that. Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, it is.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yes. But I also want to tell the students that we've been doing a little piloting of trying to see how teams of Cal Poly students can work remotely on projects down at FLIR. And right now we have an MBA team that's working with you on sort of their lean project for the quarter. So, so it's an interesting experience, and I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to put in the time. You've got, you know, engineers showing up for weekly half-hour meetings with this MBA team. So my hat's off to you, and thank you for doing that.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, it's working out. And like everything else in the lean world, it's a constant learning opportunity. So the first time we tried it, we learned a bunch. Now we're seeing the results. So far it's looking really good. Yeah, and I really hope that we're done with those virtual things pretty soon.
Yeah.
I got the second vaccine today, so that's good for me.
So, Sebastian, you know, I kind of read that sort of long, you know, resume and things, but maybe more directly, can you talk a little bit like how does lean play? You know, besides from these sort of big project opportunities, how does lean play more into your daily job? Is this a thing, or is it just about having a bunch of certifications and degrees on your wall, or do you actually use this stuff?
That's a very interesting point. So the certifications are intended for other people to see that I keep learning more than me, right? So it brings you value for other folks because truly that's what they see. But on a day-to-day cases, there is no doubt that I'm pretty successful on my work, and it's because I use the Lean Six Sigma concepts in a constant basis. Now, not everything that we're dealing with, you just open a huge project and you just run the whole thing, right? You need to pick the tools that are appropriate. But if you just think about Lean as a philosophy, right, as a thought, when you're walking around the production line, when you're talking to people, when you're just arranging projects, arranging meetings, or dealing with anything related to moving things around, right away you're going to start to see the problems. You're going to start to see the wasted motions, the wasted inventory, you know, the scrap, all that kind of stuff. So truly, from my perspective, the Lean Six Sigma methodology is critical for success, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to push that to my teams as well, to pilot that program, because it's not just about making one project and then maybe you do another project. It's about using the tools constantly.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, trying to make, you know, you can learn about lean, but trying to make it come alive in your organization, you know, by and one thing, you know, interacting with these Cal Poly students are forcing your people to sort of think and interact in maybe a different, more lean way. So, Hey, Sebastian, it occurs to me as we were talking, I know what your products are and the kinds of things you do. It's really cool stuff. So maybe you can share a little bit with these students the kinds of things that you guys make and do so that they have a little understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. So FLIR, for those who don't know, FLIR is quite a big brand name in the infrared world. We make all kinds of detectors. There are two major types. Some that are called cool detectors because the sensor itself is attached to a little kind of mini refrigerator, if you want. And the other ones are uncool, basically saying the detector, the sensor itself, is kind of just by itself. Those sensor detectors, those are semiconductor devices. The infrared technology by itself has been going on for a while. FLIR in particular has a big market share from this technology, and we have really top technology. Our what we say packaging is because those semiconductor devices need to be placed under vacuum in really strict conditions because that vacuum needs to last for 10 years or 20 years depending on the unit, and in some cases more than that. Our units are being used on a day-to-day cases by law enforcement. In many situations, they're used for search and rescue. If you're a firefighter, you go inside a burning building, and by using our systems, you can see through smoke and find people and see what lays ahead. That's one of the key elements of the infrared technology. It certainly is used as well in the defense environment, right? Quite a lot, in fact. Our systems are being placed in aircraft, they're being placed in missiles. Some places they're being used as well for guns. But there is a big component as well, which is a lot of what I do related to industrial applications. So our systems can be used, you can attach them to a drone, make it fly over a solar panel field, and you can see which units are not working. You can use these sensors to go to a house, you make a house inspection, and you can see where there is water leakage or where the insulation is not properly set up. So let's imagine that you work in the power industry, right? So you go to your power station and you use these cameras to see which particular transformer is about to explode because it's overheating. And if you work in the gas industry, for example, you can use these detectors to see gas leaks. So there's really a lot of applications. One of the biggest is coming for everybody, at least that's in development right now, but it's really exciting technology. It's for autonomous vehicles. You probably heard about a lot of companies going into autonomous mode right now. The infrared technology is really going to be key for the vehicle to be able to see in certain conditions. At night, obviously, right, when there is no light and the other cameras won't work. Or if there is too much light, actually that is a problem as well. Because imagine that you're walking and the sun is behind you, a regular camera is not going to be able to see you, but the thermal cameras can see you, can see the difference between what you are and whatever is around you. So there is a big safety factor that we're bringing into the mix. Our cameras are being used as well right now to fight the COVID problem. Our systems are being placed in hospitals and including our factory, right? You walk in and you get measured for temperature. It just takes a second or two and it tells you if you're good or not. And we do reject people for that. So it's actually quite a big field. Yeah. FLIR is a relatively big company, around 4,000 people, although we're being acquired by another big fish. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be 15,000 people. But wow. Nevertheless, our applications are a lot. Space, defense, search and rescue, industrial. So it's really impressive.
Yeah. So Sebastian, maybe I'm going to kind of jump down my little standard question list to, ask you to share maybe some, big lean success story either within FLIR or the other places you've worked. You've worked for some other, pretty big companies in this area. But
absolutely.
Share some sort of lean success failure or success or failure.
Yeah.
Because and we learn from both those, right? In our lean practice.
Totally. Yeah. So
and I also want to encourage our students too at this time to enter some questions in the chat, and I'll let Wes manage that and direct the questions to the students more, so it's not just me.
Perfect. So and one of the things I'm really proud. It was during my stint on the aerospace industry. I worked for a company, some of you might heard of it, it's the SpaceX. At the time, I was a lean facilitator. That was my thing, right? So I was going around from many different sections, usually only when there are problems, and there are plenty, believe me. A lot of the lean folks like me, there was around 6 people. We kind of concentrate in particular situations that are really preventing the company from moving forward. One of the really, really cool places was, well, the place was not that cool, but it's pretty silly that if you think about the rocket is an aluminum skin and a bunch of tubes. When I say a bunch of tubes, I mean thousands of tubes. And those tubes are done on site. And you have 10 to 20,000 different part numbers and different metals and different IDs. Very, very different things. And if you cannot make the tube, you cannot make a rocket. Now, this particular situation was quite dire, actually. And our ability to fulfill what is called the manifest, or the ability to build a rocket to launch, was actually in jeopardy. We couldn't meet those deliverables. And part of my work was to go to one particular section and try to understand what was happening and how to fix it. In this particular case, as in many cases you guys might encounter through your professional life, a lot had to do with the incoming quality of the material. That there was one particular specification that we needed. That particular detail may or may not have been told to the suppliers. What ends up happening is now you have a product that you can make because whatever is coming in is not the proper thing. So we have to build, I have to build a whole inspection process and a whole screening mechanism, including hiring people, setting up the inspection process, using particular cameras to inspect each tube. And we're talking about probably 20 million, something like that, really a lot of tubes. So that took for 2 to 4 months, 2 shifts, people working constantly, screening that and being successful, because after you find the problems, you need to send them somewhere else to eliminate the problem and keep the good parts. That was a fantastic application of the lean process, because it lets you understand what the problem is. You need to set up a solution. The solution is to maintain a particular takt time to be able to provide the material to the folks. You need to bring operators up to speed. Everything was in there. Everything you imagine, all the wastes that you can imagine, we have everything. Yeah. It was a great story. It was a fantastic experience. It was successful too, by the way. So that was really good.
They've put a few rockets out there.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So that was a really, I feel very proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah.
And in many situations, for you guys to know, the lean people, you go there, you execute an improvement, and the problem goes away, and then nobody else knows that happened, right? Because the problem goes away. You need to go somewhere else. So it's very important you guys feel proud of what you do. It's going to stay with you forever. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, Wes, it looks like we got some questions. You want to direct that?
Yeah, we'll go. Will, do you want to pop on really quick and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Mr. Fishman. Just wondering. I was just wondering how the acquisition might change your work, and how I think you said there's going to be a pretty big increase in employees because of it. How will that kind of affect the way you practice lean?
So there are a lot of things that are unknown at this time that will come up after the acquisition, when all the programs can be merged. I can tell you right now that we are considered a really, really important, what is called a center of excellence. We use lean a lot in general in our facility. And the most likely scenario is that we're going to be exporting our process to the other sites. So in that sense, it's quite positive for our site. What we do here in Goleta is actually a really, really important part of the whole organization. And we're pretty good at what we do. The lean perspective is a huge part of it. Huge part of it. We're constantly learning what we do. Right now, there's a huge initiative on trying to reduce the space, so reduce the wasted space that people have. And right now the calculations are we're going to be saving 40% of our space, meaning that you can bring a bunch more work to this site, right? So we have a really good perspective for what's coming to us. But the details, nobody knows, man.
Well,
right.
thanks. I wish you the best of luck with
No
it.
worries. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good
Thanks,
call.
Will. Great question. Jake, send it.
Hello, Mr. Fishman. So my question is, after you implement a lean process or make a change to a given process, I'm sure sometimes there's like a little bit of pushback from maybe some specific factions within that company. So how do you like inspire buy-in from everyone in that company to make sure that process is successful?
So you're really saying something that is going to be constant. Not just constant, you should expect it. And because you know it's going to come, you can prepare for it. One of the key elements that you need to understand is why people throw fits and why they don't want to change, right? And I'm saying throwing fits, but they might have a really good reason why not to accept your change. And maybe you didn't have all the information about it, but you know that's going to come. And because you know it's going to come, you can prepare for it, trying to find out who the folks are, trying to understand really what's happening and why they really don't want to do it. And once you understand that and you can address it, the situation becomes typically very easy to resolve. You are going to encounter situations that people, you're not going to be able to get the real reason why, and most likely it's because they're set on their ways, they don't want to change because, they've been doing the same job for 15 years, well, you're not going to teach them anything. And you're going to encounter those situations. So it's part of your job as a lean practitioner. You're an influencer, you need to find a way to bring those folks into your field, into your team. And in situations that is not going to happen, then you have data to prove why your change is appropriate. So when you're going to work in a company, those decisions are being made based on that data. So to a certain extent, and frankly, this is I use this a lot, right? The train is going to depart the station. You can come on board or no, it's your call, but the changes are going to happen. And at some point, people need to come on board. And if they decide not to come on board, then it's their decision. But it has to be respectful, don't get me wrong. But sorry, guys.
Yeah.
My son just told me that he got accepted at UC Santa Cruz. So,
Whoa!
Hey.
so thank you. So it's the key thing in here, Jake, is that you must understand that nothing here is going to be easy. Even the simplest change that you're going to propose, somebody's going to say, no, that's not all right. And it's going to come. So don't take it personal. Try to understand why.
Yeah.
A lot of things with the lean about respect and understanding. And you might get a real reason why not to do it. But data really trunks everything. And if you have your data properly done, you get the sell.
And I think, the thing I've found, Sebastian, is the more you can try to get them involved early, with the change. And kind of the best scenario, you might have a great idea, but, if you can get them to think of the idea first, it's a little like, change management 101 it kind of works like magic, right? People love to implement.
Absolutely.
They love to implement their own ideas. They're not so much on other people's ideas, right?
Yeah. That is a very true statement that you guys should realize that you're supposed to execute a change, but nobody really tells you how to, right? So you'll be very successful if you do that. If you get folks to realize, if I do this, I benefit. Oh, well, all right, it's my idea. Yes, it's your idea. Go do it. It's a great trick. It works very well, very successful. So strongly recommend that.
How many more questions would you like to do, Eric? We've got 1, 2, 3.
How about we just go for 2 more and we'll wrap things up. Does that sound good?
Sounds great to me. Okay, Nicole, you're up, and then Juan, you're up after that.
Hi, Mr. Fishman. I just had a question about some of your experience working at SpaceX. So what was your toughest project, you would say, from your time there, and how was your experience navigating the aerospace industry?
So SpaceX it's a very unique place to work. In fact, sometimes many people are surprised that they can be considered aerospace, right? But it's been very effective. Typically, aerospace industries are really slow to move. Everything takes a ton of paper and a lot of verification. And SpaceX is not like that, right? You have certain responsibilities, you're signing up, so it gets done. So as an into the aerospace industry, it was awesome. It was great because you get to do stuff pretty quickly. It's a fantastic experience. So I was very pleased with that. It was a great job. Now, with regards to what was the most difficult thing, right? There were two major projects that were truly, truly, truly difficult. The one is the one I mentioned about the tubes not being made on time. And you know that those are critical when you have the Elon Musk coming over and yelling at people to get stuff moving and things like that. So it's pretty important. The other one was not to that extent, but it wasn't too far. We were making the deliverables, but as you guys know, one of the wastes is the inventory, right? Scrap material. So we have a particular unit, I don't know, $2 to $3 million of scrap material spread all over the footprint that we were using. So that material was just in the way. People couldn't work because all the stuff was in the way. And you cannot just dispose of that as you just throw it on the trash because it's all what is called control information. It's a set of regulations called ITAR because that's all can be used for weaponry. So you need to be very careful how you deal with that. We have a whole warehouse that we were using for manufacturing this part. And from the whole warehouse, maybe 20% was actually utilized for actual work. The rest was just keeping stuff in there because we couldn't put them anywhere else. So my work was to find a way to recreate the space. And once I started investigating, I understood that the only thing we need to do is scrap the material. The work changed a little bit, but the difficulty was in removing dozens and dozens of these pretty big parts, pretty heavy parts, very expensive parts that need to be disposed properly. So in that sense, you use the tools that you're learning here, process mapping, customer requirements, and trend and time, all the stuff that you need to make that happen. And then you're the lean practitioner, you're the one that needs to do it. They need to see you doing the stuff. So I spent days drilling holes in these tubes. These are not the same tubes. These are kind of a very different parts to make them unusable. And I'm saying days because it takes a while to make those holes and those pieces. And they saw me doing it, and I was able to ask for help. And now we doubled the speed for that because I got one guy to help me. And then they saw me working that, and they still saw me doing it. So I said, well, if you give me 2 more guys, we can get this in half the time, right? So then I got 2 more people to help me. So it was very difficult because you have to get people to help you that there is no way they're going to help you. They're really busy doing other stuff, even though they all realize that it's a wasted time that they're doing moving things around. But it was a great experience too at the end because we were able to clear up everything. We took like 80% of the space back. It looked beautiful after that. It was great. But it was a very difficult to start with because of all the processes I had to learn to be able to deal with that, plus the fact that there was almost no help available until they saw me doing the work. And that, by the way, is one of the key elements that you all need. People need to see you doing it. You need to go to the gemba, like we say here. You need to go, be there, be nice with them, be respectful, get your hands dirty. The rest comes. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for good memories.
Awesome,
Good
man.
memories.
Last question. Juan, send it.
Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Juan Perez.
Hey, Juan.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about the teams that you have managed. On the people that are on those teams, do they have certificates for like lean kind of like knowledge? And if they don't, do you think it's necessary to have a certificate to be successful in lean thinking? Because really what I've seen is like lean thinking is like, how can we be successful? How can we improve our profits? How can we make everything a lot better every single day? And I just want to see your standpoint on it.
Yeah, it's a very fair question. So we need to differentiate a few things, right? At some point, you're going to be looking for a job, and they're going to be looking at your resume, And you need to find a way to let those folks know that you have a particular knowledge. If you have a certification that you can put in your resume, that makes that job easier. So it helps you in that way. If you needed to do the actual work, the answer is no. And I can tell you that I interview people that they came over and said, oh, I have a certification, blah, 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 and they have no clue what it was. Right? I found people lying about that. So having the certification by itself, it doesn't give you anything except that maybe opens the door. You still need to know the facts. You still need to know the subject. With regards to the knowledge itself, I think it's super critical for my team to know those things, in particular the folks that deal with the process and manufacturing engineering. Other folks, not so much, but it's good to have because they all work together. And that's why I'm kind of working internally with my groups to pilot the Lean Six Sigma program. So we're starting with the white belt kind of for all the techs, right, to kind of skill them up a little bit. And then you have engineering techs. You get them a yellow belt, and then you have engineers, and you get them a green belt. And those folks that really step out, they go for a black belt. And they're all supposed to help other folks and coach up. So from my perspective, it's a critical knowledge for success. But it's not that you're not going to be successful if you don't have it. But you go to school to learn things, right? So you don't spend 10 years learning something you can learn in a semester. This is the same. Go learn the process, and then you can use it. And you know, you're saving time. But from my perspective, you should have it. Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Well, Lon, thank you for that. And I think that's a great place to end it. Nice testimonial for the kind of learning that you guys are getting in this class. As I've said, you know, you put this on your resume, but there are going to be employers out there. And one of the things that you're going to realize, and I think Sebastian, you know, alluded to this, you know, people are starting to get smart. They're looking for the kinds of skills and the things that we're teaching in this class, but they're also learning to kick the tires, right? It's not just, you know, they'll ask you, oh, I see you got this Lean Six Sigma green belt training on your resume. You know, can you tell me a little bit about it? And then it's where you say, oh, I did this mini project where, you know, and I applied it, you know, in a certain way. And that's the ways that they're going to check you. So pay attention, do a good job on your project.
Totally.
It'll serve you well. Okay.
When I was interviewing for the continuous improvement specialist job that got me into Cal Poly, part of the interview process was actually having to put together and teach a class, teach my interview committee how to do a 5Y exercise, but pretending as if they were my team. So not only did they want to know that I knew the tool, but could I communicate it effectively and teach others to do it?
Did somebody give you like a fill in the blank training? You know,
No.
See, and you got that in this class, right? We gave you the fill in the blank version. So, hey, Sebastian, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know it's a long day. This is this is probably another 45 minutes on top of the half hour you did earlier today, just helping out Cal Poly students learn about this stuff, and hopefully also making your guys' processes a little bit better. So thank you so much for doing this.
That's awesome. Thank you for having me. Good luck to everybody.
Yep. And a nice way to end the video here. So if you turn on gallery view, I'm going to ask everybody to power up their videos and do a little American Sign Language applause symbol for Sebastian. Thanks for being on here.